Welcome, beautiful friends! Hey, Cindy, it's Tuesday night.
Yes, it is. Tuesday night.
And where are
Once
we?
again, we are in Sevierville, Tennessee.
This is your old stomping ground, kind of.
Well, sort of. A familiarity with the area, yeah.
We rode out to the national park, Cades Cove, today, and it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Started with a splitting headache, and by the time it was over, no headache. So, where are we going tonight, honey? We've been asking each other this question all day. I had some stuff drop in, but I wondered if you did.
No.
Okay. Well, then I'll start, and you feel free to jump in.
You.
Okay. So on Saturday night, we all co-conspired together to come to the table in the banquet. Each of us placing our chosen gift on the banquet table, taking our seat, and offering to each one gathered the fullness of our journey. What a cool deal. And I suspect some of us rushed to the table to take our seat. Some others lingered back a little bit going, I don't belong at that table. What? I don't know about this banquet. But as we sat down, the gift that came to be served that we all got to enjoy is the relationship between sacred silence, the eternal, and sound, the temporal. Just like what we've done with spacious presence, this eternally, always here, always right now, vast emptiness from which our body and all forms arise, sound and silence is just another doorway in. Each of the five physical senses are doorways to the eternal because they're actually temporary expressions of the eternal. So we just kind of reverse the flow by using the simple power of our light to expand our awareness to include not only the temporary, but the present, unmoving, unchanging, unchangeable, eternal. And those two things coming back together, heaven of our spirit, the earth of our body, being re-merged together as one, begin to create magnificent transformation, or what Yeshua called transfiguration. So we're going to play a little bit more today with silence and sound, and then we'll see what Cindy gets midway through, and I'll hand her the talking stick. We had this thing about the talking stick. I keep wanting to hand Cindy the talking stick, and she keeps pushing it back. So let's...
You need to unmute it.
Whoever's unmuted, I'm going to mute you again, please.
That'll be fun.
Okay, so let's recognize that what comes first? What is primordial? Silence or sound? And just let that gnosis arise in the sovereignty and sanctity of your own being. It may arise with words, it may arise with pictures, it may arise with just a feeling or a knowing that's just as simple, just as doubt-free as when Gnosis reported the presence of our physical body. What is the origin? What is primordial? Silence or sound? And imagine for a moment using the power of your light to feel into a vast, perfectly still, utter silence. the very ground of eternal being. Call it God, call it mystery, call it the universe, the source, the mother, whatever. But allow your light to reveal to you that primordial being before any sound, before any vibration, before any movement. And allow yourself to know that there is nothing lacking in that silence. That silence, that essence of being has no need. It expends no energy. It utterly and simply is. And allow yourself to recognize that this silence, this primordial being, is not the absence of all things. Rather, it is the unexpressed potential of all that is. Allow your light to reveal to you that within this effortless, primordial silence is the potential for all vibration, all frequency, and all of what we would call sound. Infinite potential at rest in silence, unexpressed, but yet full within its silent potential. And let yourself feel, let your light reveal to you that in this primordial silence, this which becomes before all things, this is the primordial I, the very I, primordial identity of all that is. That silent sacredness that seems to be empty, but yet contains all potential is the universal I. Let yourself feel, let your own light reveal gnosis to you in the perfect way for you, that one primordial field of sacred silence containing all potential always is present and always is whole. Pure silence, pure potential, pure being. Allow yourself to become aware that within this sacred silence is perfect peace. Perfect original wholeness. In the beginning was silence, and silence was without form. The eternal and ever-present primordial I of God I am. Now let yourself become aware within this vast, formless, motionless field of pure, sacred silence. Let yourself become aware of the subtlest intention possible, the subtlest movement or sound arising from silence, the subtlest intention of the unmanifest, the formless, becoming form. The subtlest of movements is often referred to in this way. And as that vast and infinite sacred silence, with the subtlest of intention, breaks its own silence to burst forth into expression by what we call sound. The infinite potential of sacred silence moving forward, outward, inward, into manifestation. That sacred, simple, silent I now becoming active and becoming am. Pure being now moving into expression. The primordial sacred silence of I moving as am in what we call sound or frequency or vibration. Can you feel a subtle inner joy as that mighty I moves in expression and now becomes I am? No longer only a vast and infinite field of silence containing all potential, but now that mighty primordial I seeking expression, becoming I am. The eternal I presence of sacred silence, expressing itself in an infinite number of temporary expressions. I am. And that eternal silence is never separate from its own expression through sound. They are and forever remain one, inseparable. Without the primordial silence, there could be no expression through sound or anything else. What a clever trick we've played on ourselves to perceive that sound is somehow apart from and separate from the eternal silence, the primordial single I that gives rise to all expression. So within your own being, feel the absolute certainty of that primordial I in the silence of your own being. And let yourself feel and know that within that already is infinite potential. Can you feel the joy of that mighty I that is at this moment expressing itself as you? The one becoming the many. The one silence expressing itself, exploring itself through all the potentials of being. We could maybe call that silence the Holy Mother, the womb of all potential. And we could call every sound, every expression, the masculine moving forth, becoming into expression. I, without the expression of am, is merely a field of infinite, silent potential. All the amming, all the expression, all those potentials being temporarily made manifest is the eternal movement of creation. Eternal silence, expressing itself through temporary sound, infinite potential, knowing itself through temporary expressions, the womb of the Holy Mother birthing forth the temporary expressions, forever one, forever merged, forever whole and innocent. Wow. So as we expand our light and break our addictive habit of only focusing our light on the temporary, as we expand the capacity of that light to be simultaneously aware of the silence and sound, the eternal and the temporal, we return to an original wholeness that's always here, always present, always accessible if we will merely repurpose our light to show us our holiness and the holiness of all that is, rather than reporting to us only half of the creative equation. If we only look at the expression am, and we lose sight of the primordial I, we're not seeing clearly. We're not seeing with Christ's holy vision. We're not hearing or feeling or knowing with Christ's holy vision. Cool. I can see Lorraine yawning, so that's an affirmation on her side of this creative equation that we're on the primordial truth. But our journey into wholeness is not a return to silence. It's merely rejoining silence and sound, spirit and form, eternal and temporal, into one thing. Yeshua puts it this way: heaven, silence, earth, sound, will cease to exist as different things, as opposites. They will become one mighty I, expressing itself through infinite sound or infinite potential or infinite expression. So by using this beautiful doorway, again, it was my primary doorway because sound is the real big doorway for me, that every sound is expressing a potential of God. The gentle purr of a kitten on your lap, or the ear-piercing sound of a jet engine at takeoff. Silence says yes to both. Silence allows all sound. Silence embraces all sound. Silence accepts all sound. Silence trusts all sound. And silence remains forever transcendent of sound. So transcendence is not a journey of getting away from sound or expression or form or creation. Transcendence is finally returning to a total embrace and using the simple power and faculty of our light. We can know this in any moment that we choose. We can allow the gnosis of this to inform us in every moment we choose to use our light for wholeness rather than separation. And it's always our choice. Isn't that the coolest thing? Okay, babe, talking stick to you.
We didn't talk about any of that. Well, not exactly. When we talked this afternoon,
Yeah.
that was a new take on it.
Well,
An ancient take on it, probably.
that's what happens when I tune in and say, I don't know what to say or do. And I let that silence birth within me. Isn't that cool?
See. Yes.
Yeah. So once again, my thinking was wrong.
It's fascinating. So you can't help but draw the comparison between how we've talked about darkness and light, and now we talk about silence and sound. And I'm noticing how it was a easy thing for me to think about, like light emanating from darkness and fracturing. Like it hit a prison and it fractured out into manifestation. That's very interesting to be able to see the same process happening with sound. This fracturing of sound into infinite expression.
Fraction of silence into infinite expression.
Yes, that's what I meant.
That we call sound.
That we call sound. Yeah, fascinating.
So what might it be like to not search for God, but rather find God in every sound? To know yourself as that primordial I expressing through all sound. Wow.
And thinking about the way light and sound works within the manifest world, and when people speak about sound as being a frequency, it opens up a whole nother conversation about vibration and frequency and harmony, and this beautiful aspect of sound in which these rhythms and harmonies are created. And so now my thoughts move towards how we are in relationship with one another, and that if we are in recognition of the I that's now presenting as the I am, what magnificent things that we can create when we are joined in that place of full knowing of our I amness. What harmonies that we can create in that joining.
Wow, let's talk about that. I think that's the doorway to miracles itself.
Oh.
So Yeshua was abiding in a state of original wholeness. He had removed the illusory veil between the heaven of God, the infinite potential of sound, and the expression of his form or earth, so to speak. So he was able to bring forth from silence any potential. If we're only half of the equation, if we're only resting in the expressed, we only draw forth what we think is possible. For instance, our body minds might not believe it's possible to levitate. Just use that as an example. But silence, that mighty I that contains all potential, it's no harder to levitate than not. So Yeshua merely abided in a state of wholeness, such that the way, he created the way so that that primordial I could find the highest possible expression through him. And in his case, it expressed in miracles of instant manifestation, and healing and walking on water and all manner of stuff that is not at all impossible to the eye. And this is like the first miracle principle for Course in Miracles. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. To use our analogy today, that's saying there's no order of difficulty in sound. I mean, is it harder to go or ah? I mean, there's no order of difficulty between those two things. But we, only holding half of the equation, only perceiving ourselves as am, losing connection with the wholeness of silence of the I, we don't manifest the full power of the primordial I. And what if it's been this close all along? And this is why Yeshua said, I of myself do nothing. The am that is effect of the body can't do anything. The mighty I does all things through me, all things through form, all things through sound, all things through expression. But then he went on further to say, I and the Father are one. Now this was his teaching was these things together. Of myself I do nothing, the Father does all things through me, and I and the Father are one. He taught that as one teaching. In the translations, it got split apart because it's actually one thing. He's acknowledging that expression, apart from source, sound, has no ability to be without the primordial silence. And it's actually the power of primordial silence that expresses through a hymn, through sound, through all expressions. So he was recognizing I and the Father, expression and cause, silence and sound are one. They have to be. They can't be separate. They cannot be. They're a match set, two sides of one coin, so to speak. So that return to an original wholeness is opening up so that the way, the mighty I, can express itself in, as, and through us. And that one primordial I only can express itself for its highest good. No wonder it would heal itself. No wonder it would provide abundance to itself. No wonder it would have all power over all expressions of itself. It's beautiful. So Katie has asked a question, and it's an important one. So I have a question, she says. Does AICM say God or heaven, or in our case today, silence, does not know what is going on in the dream called earth? Like God does not acknowledge what we are experiencing. Let me see if I can find Katie here so I can feel into her being as this comes. Where are you, Katie? Wave, Katie. There you go. Hi, Katie. Thank you for the very good question. So the first thing that comes, do you have children, Katie? Okay. So when your children dress up for Halloween, you know they're not what they're dressed up as, right? You don't have any doubt about their true identity. That's what he means in this ACIM thing. God knows we're playing at being what we're not because it's actually God itself doing it. But God doesn't know only half of the equation. God doesn't know the separate experience because the primordial I and sound, silence and sound, are having one experience. Do you see what I mean? So God's not sharing our separate experience because God's having the one whole experience of creation. So that's why he says God doesn't know, because to know is to be. For instance, going back to your kids, when they're dressed up as a pirate, they're not really a pirate. You know, they're just playing at it. They're not truly being a pirate. just like we're not truly separate, we're having an experience of it. So God doesn't know it because it isn't true that it's separate. But that doesn't mean that God isn't here existing as you and me and all things. So I can tell by the grin on your face that your own light has informed you as to the truth of that. So all he meant by that statement is God's not playing the have-y game, the separate game. There's only one infinite field of silence and sound, which has remained eternally whole and eternally one. Hope that makes sense. Maybe Halloween will take on a whole new meaning for you. So Lisa says, so there are no limitations to the expression of God through the body.
Here she is.
Well, Lisa, I'd like to play with you a little bit. Can I do that? Okay, so remember back when we said, when questions arise in our consciousness, it's really an invitation into the answer.
Yes.
Yes, you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So feel into your question.
Uh-huh.
So there are no limitations to the expression of God through the body.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is yes, there are no limitations.
Okay, well, let's play with it a little bit more.
Okay.
Because in your question, let's just rephrase it a little bit. So there are no limitations to the expression of sound through the silence.
Say it again. Sorry.
There are no limitations to the expression of sound through the silence.
Okay.
And also, there are no limitations to the expression of God through the body. And what if the body was merely the sum total of all expressions? Like Earth and the universe is the body of God, the expression of that one infinite. Just look around you. They're human forms, they're trees, they're clouds, they're rock. I mean, we're already bombarded with infinite body, infinite form, God expressed in infinite ways, even within this little tiny sliver of potential that we call planet Earth. Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
So one of the things I've done here with Lisa, which Yeshua did early with me in my process, is he would move me from my personal definitions. For instance, body, when you ask the question, I suspect you were referring to your body or human bodies.
Human bodies, yes.
Yeah. So he would take me from the personal question to the impersonal universal truth. And that always answered not only the personal question, but the universal. Does that make sense? So this is a good way, a simple way to move from half of the equation, body meaning me, to body meaning all expressed forms. It's a simple way to reframe the question in a wholeness, and then light will inform you in a greater way. Because if we do it on the personal, and I'll just take myself because I thought the same thing you did. I thought, okay, then I, as this body, have to prove that I can like change the shape of the body, right? Or do something that seemed miraculous with the body.
Okay.
Which was like a whole lot of damn effort. And like, oh my gosh, how do I do that? Blah, 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 you know, all that kind of freak out. But as soon as I went from the personal to the impersonal, all of a sudden I realized I, as the primordial I, am already expressing in body without limitation. I'm expressing as a Coke. I'm expressing as a rock. I'm expressing as a cloud. I'm expressing as a thought. I'm expressing as a feeling. I'm expressing it all as all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am no longer just this separate body. I am one expressing through all form.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really important way to take a personal question and follow it to its impersonal source and its grander expression. So for me, the pressure that I had put on my own mind, well, then I have to like make this body disappear or make it into a different shape or something, because my mind was like, oh, well, I need to know this. All of a sudden, instead of all that striving in my mind, I became in a state of awe and wonder of what the mighty I is already doing with all bodies around me.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to have no problem, and it expends no effort to express itself in all these incredible ways. All sound. So what this little reframing does is it moves our identity back from effect, the body, or sound, back to cause, that primordial silence or the mighty I.
Mm-hmm.
So reframing the question is the invitation back to our true original wholeness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because those questions can drive you nuts on a personal level, so much so it's like we don't want them. It's like, keep them away because they prove to me I'm not what I want to be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than allowing the questions to be the doorway we go back to the eternal, back to the one. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does make sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So back to you, talking stick,
I
Cindy.
knew you were going to do that.
We'll see.
I was
You're
just waiting for
channeling
you
the
to
one
do
mind.
that.
We can hand the
Okay.
talking stick to our friends and let somebody ask a question.
You do that. I did have an experience to share, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I'd like to hear your comments on. So when I was playing the singing bowls, one of the things that I noticed about sound was that the sound that was emitted from a particular bowl would change when it was played in accompaniment to another bowl, and it would also change when it was played in proximity to other people.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating?
I thought it was fascinating. I certainly enjoyed watching that. I don't know what the right word is. It's like transformation of the sound based on what appeared to be vibrational conditions.
Wow.
Got any comments on that?
I actually have a visual aid.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to play along with me?
Sure.
Okay, so here we go. This will take a second. I'm gonna use a video here. Share screen, share computer sound. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, Cindy, is use a little video to illustrate this. And you've seen this before, but. So this is a video. By the way, it's a corporate advertisement, which is really just brilliant, of a piano that has been tuned to play only one note. And if any of you have sought God or truth, we can do this search for God by throwing out lots of things, trying to reduce it to the one truth. Does this make sense to anybody? Has anybody tried this? It's like, that's not God, get rid of that. That's not God, get rid of that. netty kind of approach. So this is a beautiful video where this guy has two pianos, and one piano, they've all been tuned to the exact same note, which is a symbol of like the one would express itself in only one way, only through one sound, only through one potential, only through one vibration. And the opposite of having a piano tuned to all frequencies, to normally tuned. Isn't that cool? So what, let me undo this. So what arose for you as you watched that in answer to your question?
Well, the first thing that came was perhaps I didn't phrase my question well, because
So I might have totally missed it. Great.
I was thinking what I was trying to describe was the dynamics of the joining of the sound. So I could play the one bowl over and over
Like
again, and it's
key.
in the same. Yeah, it's in the same.
It's only expressing its potential.
Right.
Okay.
So, but when it was played together, there was a synergy. There was a shift. There was something that happened.
There was something greater expression.
Yeah, and I think most of the group would say that the experience that we have together in having these sharings and these conversations, they're somehow magnified, they're enhanced, they're greater when it's done in this group than what we might experience if we were just receiving it individually.
Yeah. And this is Yeshua's teaching, where two or more are gathered in my name. We've come together in the name of awakening, in the name of wholeness, in the name of love, whatever you want to call it. And in that, a greater potential is made possible. That's why he says a relationship is the secret to your salvation. Because remember, the one form of silence, the one field of silence or presence, whatever you want to call it, has no expression.
Okay.
But when it expresses itself, and those expressions relate to each other, it is an ever-expanding, infinitely richer expression. Does that make sense? So you, to your singing bowl, is your vibration. I'm a singing bowl of my vibration. But when we're in resonance together, or in dissonance, we were able to create experiences that together were not possible when we were just ourselves. So to use your singing bowl analogy, this one singing bowl playing just its note, but when it joins with another, now the two create a greater potential for expression. They go into co-creative expression. And the bowls, since they don't have any need to be special, they automatically, naturally harmonize to each other. They go into a co-resonance. I mean, the universe as its nature seeks harmony, a symphonic harmony of expression. It's our little minds that create the dissonance where because we're still trying to hold ourselves apart from that greater resonance, so we don't go into that greater potential. So what's happening as they do that, it is the one through now 2 bowls, 3 bowls, 4 bowls, expressing and thereby knowing its greater expressive potential by them coming together. But the individual components, the individual bowls, just like individual ones of us, are absolutely critical to that equation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what's dropping into my mind is the thing from ACIM that says that what's it? Thoughts leave not their source. Is that the
Yeah, sound. Well, we could put it this way: sound leaves not its source of the primordial silence of I. Same
so
thing.
the infinite potential of the I also resides in the am.
Of course, how could they be separate?
Because it is the one thing.
It couldn't be any other way, except in our wild imagination.
Okay. I think I might have more, but not right at this moment.
All right, well, let's see. Joan has said, perhaps one tuning fork next to another and causing the second fork vibrating would show what Cindy's saying. That's a good example, Joan. Thank you for suggesting it. There is within creation a profound tendency towards matching vibration. How many have you gone into a place where everybody's like a funeral and everybody's unhappy and blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, you like come into co-resonance with them. Or it's, that kind of mob mentality. And this is actually one of the important stages of awakening, is to be able to hold the vibration you choose consciously in the face of temptation to drop it to go into co-resonance with others. Because everything in creation is seeking to come together. Fear is just like love in that way. Fear tries to propagate itself with more fear. I mean, just think a couple of nasty thoughts and a couple of their friends show up. Likewise, if you think some beautiful thoughts, a couple of their friends show up. So one of the things about awakening is to begin to be the cause, be the primordial I, consciously choosing your vibrational state so that choice determines your vibrational state, not situations or circumstances, not something outside of you. Now, of course, Yeshua was the master of all masters at this. You could be in his presence and all of your being was like drawn towards his vibration. You would either experience moments of revelation and enlightenment, or that would scare the shit out of you and you would contract away the other way in fear and projection. The same thing happens when we come together in this group, or you get together with a similar group. Our friend Evelyn's on the call. She gets together with her Greek spiritual family and feels that same kind of upliftment. Now, that can be really helpful at stages of the journey because it shows us potentials that we don't think are possible. But then the real opportunity comes to be able to manifest and hold that potential for yourself and not be affected by the things outside of you. Not go into co-agreement with lower vibrations that drag you down. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And this is a stage, there's a stage kind of everybody goes through on the pathway where all of a sudden you start to perceive things as being really unspiritual and you don't want to go there anymore. Well, bars are bad. They're not spiritual. Well, they're just kind of low vibration environments. They're still expressions of silence, aren't they? Mm-hmm. They're still expressions of potential. But why you don't want to go there is because you've not yet mastered the ability to maintain your vibration in around lower vibration. You still go into co-resonance and allow it to drag you down. Or you still spiritually seek to be around someone doing satsang or whatever, or watching spiritual videos because you're looking for the high that it provides you. You see what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. It's still that craving or aversion rather than coming into an original wholeness as the primordial I, expressing yourself in the vibrational state that you choose. Does that make sense? Now, this is a very great realm of power and authority that comes when you're the determiner of your state of being, not the situation and circumstances around you. That's really, really a powerful state to be in. And, Yeshua's over the top kind of super demonstration of this was being in forgiveness while he was on the cross. Didn't matter what was happening, he was the determiner of his state of being. The body could be feeling discomfort, but he was in a state of peace, whatever the case may be. So that co-resonance is really, really natural, and it can be negative or positive. But what's really more powerful is knowing you are one as that mighty I and holding the vibration that you choose and inviting creation to come into resonance with you.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to inform instead of be informed. Does it make sense? So if you're in a low vibration, the way you might be informing creation is stuff's always breaking. It's always not working. Your life's going to shit in a handbag kind of thing. Does that make sense? But if you're holding a vibration of love, like allow, trust, accept, embrace, then all of a sudden things around you tend to come into that vibration. And that's really what Yeshua did when he was healing. He was the mighty I expressing in the form Jesus, holding that vibration and allowing others to wake up to who they were, and then they chose to heal themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we got another question.
Yeah, Rivka's asking a question that we touched on this afternoon already.
So it seems amazing. This is Rivka's question. It seems amazing that silence bursts forth in sound. How and why is that? Is movement inherent in stillness or sound inherent in silence? What's the cause? Wow, this is a whole series of big questions. We might have to take these one at a time. What's the cause of potential becoming expression? Why does light shine forth? What causes the I to move into am? Does the I need the am? Does God choose, or is God and its expression eternally whole? As the Buddhists say, emptiness is form and form is emptiness. Wow, Rivka, that was a download of epic question proportion. So where is Rivka? Let me find Rivka.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. Okay, I'm
yeah,
bringing.
we talked about that today. About
Yeah.
inertia.
Okay, Rivka.
Wow.
So before we move into what we might call answering the questions, in your own being, what if the question is merely a ribbon around the gnosis that answers that question? So rather than addressing these questions intellectually with words and concepts and beliefs, I'm going to invite you in your own way, whether it's through sound and silence or spacious presence, and however you move into that state. And I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to invite you to allow the gnosis to inform you from silence, from presence, whatever you want to call it. And let's discover the answer to the gift these questions are for you. You willing to play with me in that way? Thank you. So let yourself relax. And this is a time for great curiosity and wonder. There's not a right answer. There's not a wrong answer. You don't know what's in the package. I'm just going to untie the ribbon by asking the question. Just rest there and let the gift of revelation, gnosis, come to you. It seems amazing that silence bursts forth into sound. How or why is that?
I I do not know, but it does.
So how does that feel when you feel into that? I do not know, but it does.
Immense.
It feels immense. Well, I'd like to illustrate your question a little bit. Would that be okay? So in the question, so that let's just assume this immense feeling was coming towards you for you to realize, to be, and your mind interpreted that impulse coming. And in your question, you use the two words that create time itself.
Could I halt for a moment?
Yes.
There's so much power happening in my chest, like a pulsing happening in my chest.
Well, great. Let's be with that.
Growing. My question grew out of this sense of almost the big bang, like how could what's that edge between silence and sound? That's how it started.
Yeah.
Well,
I call that the event horizon.
okay. The power, and that's what I'm feeling growing in me, the power that would propel the potential into the expression, the am, or sound from silence. I mean, all I could think of was breaking the sound barrier or something, big bang, something huge. But that doesn't make sense because, on the other hand, it seems like there isn't a division. It doesn't go one thing and then the other. It's a different.
About the ignorance of our senses.
Yeah.
Back to that feeling right now.
I can't hear you. Say.
Why don't you go back to that feeling in your chest right now?
Yeah.
Great. So just great curiosity and wonder. Would you be willing to experience the answer to your question instead of needing to understand it?
If my body can handle it.
Yep. Even if your body can't, you'll know the answer and that'll still be okay, I assure you.
Okay. Yes.
So as you rest there in that feeling of power, that vibration in your chest, you described it as immense. Just rest there in great wonder and curiosity. I'm going to pull the ribbon off of the next question, okay?
Yeah.
Stop anytime. Is movement inherent in stillness or sound inherent in silence?
Yes. Somehow they are not separated.
They require both for either to be known.
Your sound is so faint.
Okay, I'll try and speak up.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's the cause of potential becoming expression?
Yeah, it's I don't know where this is coming from. Perhaps my mind, but it's just coming. It's like it's the sense is it maybe gnosis that there's not a lot of sense here, but somehow I need to be unique or expressed in order to even understand or even look at that question. So the cause is somehow me.
Take a deep breath and let that one into every cell of your body. Let that gnosis, which is greater than what your mind can understand, just make welcome for it. Would you like to continue, Rivka?
Yeah.
Here comes the next ribbon off of your next gift. Why does light shine forth?
Again, somehow there's a deeper place in which that question is secondary. Like if the question is dividing something into two, in the deeper place is an experience. I mean, just some sense of a dynamic whole that it's it's the words that are coming is that the Big Bang has not happened. It has happened, but it has not happened.
It has expressed, but it has not caused separation.
Right. There's a bigger place in which they have not separated.
Are you willing to feel that place? Allow the light to shine there so that the gnosis of light will simply report what is. Would you like to continue?
Yes.
Resting in great curiosity and wonder. Does the I need the am?
I know that in trying to feel that I'm going into the creation of a separation, and it doesn't feel good.
Well, then stop. Just feel it. Just an old habit. You don't have to go up towards the mind and the story. But what is that primordial essence? What is the gnosis available in this question? Does the I need the am?
No. It's not need. It has the am. It doesn't need it. Yeah.
There's a big difference between understanding intellectually these questions and their potential answers and receiving them as invitations to gnosis, to not be understood but to be known.
Yeah. I think the thinker is present.
I'm sure the thinker is present. Got a body hanging around, the thinker's going to be in the mix. Okay, it's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
The thinker is the effect of our perception that we're separate. So we created the thinker
Right.
as a substitute for knowing.
Right.
The thinker became the creator of symbols that replaced gnosis.
Right. And the thinker is creating this, the duality.
Of course, the thinker's the not knower. Rivka, thank you for your wonderful questions.
Thank you for the ribbon, and thank you for the ribbon.
It's my joy to pull it and walk it and gift it to yourself.
Say it again.
It's my joy to pull the ribbon and have it be gifted to you. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah,
Okay, is the audio really still low? Yes?
it is for me.
Let me see if maybe I can adjust this somehow. Oh, yeah. Is that better? Is that better, friends? No? No? I'm getting thumbs up. Okay, great. So Cindy, talking stick to you. Wow, let's see. Okay, I get lots of yeses, so thank you. Well, great. So we only, apparently you could really only hear Rivka during that last exchange, which is probably just beautiful anyway. I was kind of playing the role of the invisible spirit, leading her from within. Talking stick to you, Bo Bindi.
This is kind of in line with Rivka's series of questions in which we spoke of inertia, and that whether it's being perpetual motion or lack of motion, my question was what changes that inertia, what moves motion to stillness and stillness to motion. And I think if I've got this in the right order, you said, how does red become yellow in order to know that it's red? So it is what true knowing comes from seeing the reflection of ourselves. So movement must only know itself as movement when it can see stillness, and stillness must only know itself as stillness when it can see movement.
So both are always present.
Both are always present
as one thing, one necessary thing in
thing.
relationship through difference.
Yes. So I keep seeing the infinity symbol. There's this unbreakable link, union between what appear to be opposites.
Until the tiny mad idea. What would it be like to imagine a separation?
Well, I would just say give thanks for all the paradoxes that you encounter, because your paradoxes remind you that everything is one. Opposites what appears opposite can exist in the same moment, in the same time, because they are the one. They're the completeness of the one. So enjoy your paradoxes.
Brilliant. Well, unless anyone has a question, we're at about an hour and a half. That's probably enough. What a joyful journey into silence and its expressive relationship to itself through sound. Whoops. And our ability to use our light to break our addiction to only knowing half of the equation. We can use our light to return to an original wholeness and no longer perpetuate separation. Wow, cool. So I'd love to play a song, but it looks like my mouse is totally shot. Let me try a different mouse. Oh, well. So Cindy, oh, there it goes. Would you like to sing for us tonight?
No, we're thinking you might be knocking on heaven's door if we have it.
Oh, I do have that
Because it
song.
felt to me that's like what Rivka was doing.
She was knocking on heaven's
She
door.
was knocking on heaven's
She
door.
was, and we helped open the door,
Yeah.
and heaven revealed itself in, as in through Rivka.
Welcome home, friend.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do this differently.
Okay.
Because my mouse isn't working, so I'm going to do this a different way. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. So as you guys might have experienced there with Rivka's questions, and she demonstrated beautifully for all of us, seeking answers from within the known of what makes sense isn't truly opening the door to heaven, is it, honey? It's an invitation, but it's never the destination. Rivka probably wouldn't have assumed the answer to her question was this vast pulsing power in her chest. And to the mind, that might be totally unacceptable. I want my fucking answer. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. That's the song, right, Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
Mama, take this badge off of me, 'cause I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. 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 Well, Mama, put that gun to the ground, 'cause I can't shoot them anymore. There's a long black cloud coming on down. I feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. 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 Knocking on heaven's door. Oh, I feel like I'm knocking. I'm knocking on heaven's door. Feel like I'm knocking. I'm knocking on heaven's door.
cool, Cindy. Good idea. Good idea. Rivka, thank you for letting me act in the form of the guide to move you and your questions within to the spirit that could illuminate you in the way that you could know. I celebrate you. I'd hate to give you a shitty answer as a substitute. Isn't that cool? So, friends, enjoy your week of play. You probably are already feeling the, of course, very beautiful relationship between spacious presence and silence and form and sound. We're just coming at the same mystery from a couple of different doorways. All the doorways that the body serves to limit through its senses. And Rivka said it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense to only half of the equation. It doesn't have to make sense. Like Cindy said, it's a beautiful paradox. Stop trying to fit the infinite mystery into what makes sense to the little human mind based on its sensory experience. You know, we're mystics. We're lovers of the mystery. And for a moment, I mean, we would all probably agree fairly readily, God's a mystery. Are you ready to be a mystery to yourself? What if you no longer had to keep self-defining yourself, self-identifying yourself in a way that limits you from being the infinite mystery itself? Am I willing to be a mystery to myself and be in ceaseless self-expression and discovery? Every definition is a limitation. Everything that makes sense to our physical human mind must be a limitation. If we're mystics truly at heart, we're lovers of mystery, not to figure it out and then have sense of it, but to become as that mystery is, as that infinite silence bursting forth in all sound, or as that infinite field of presence, that spacious self giving expression to itself through all forms. Are we ready to truly be mystics and be ready to be mystery to ourself and give up the ceaseless self-definitions, even in their super, I'm the Holy Christ, spiritual ways? I love you, honey. You got anything else? Okay, friends. I love you. We love you. Love loves you. Silence loves you with an infinite love.
And a perfect peace.
Yay! Play well, friends. Let me see if I can unmute everybody. I don't know if I can. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Bye. Play well.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.